Good evening, Shadow Chasers. Welcome. Oh, well, that didn't take. I thought I said good evening, but I guess I didn't. So, good evening, Shadow Chasers. Oh, well, that didn't take. I thought I said good evening, but I guess I didn't. So, good evening, Shadow Chasers. It's not morning, Tina. Oops. Start that again. It's not morning, Tina. Don't get me confused. And since you're the only one in here, you'll have to tell me if I sound bad because I've got new teeth. And suddenly I can't seem to talk with them. Hey, Carol, welcome in. Good evening. I hope you're well, or as well as you can be expected. Well, she's upstairs asleep right now, but she says she's doing better. Mike, oh hey Mike, didn't see you popped in there. She slept most of the day, um, so hopefully tomorrow maybe she'll feel a bit better. If she's not up and about more tomorrow, I'm gonna have to get up there and beat her with a stick or something because she needs to be moving around more. I think, and I'm not saying that to be mean. That's what the doctor told her to do. She may or may not pop in. She said she was going to pop in tonight, but I'm not sure she's still awake. And I'm not going to go up there and wake her up. If she's sleeping, that's good. Hey, Diana, how are you this evening? So, how cool is it up in Canada and New York and here? Let's see what it is here now. Oh, wow, it's cooled all the way down to 85 here. Oh, maybe it's 75. We did have a rainstorm blow through a little bit ago. So how about you just chase her with a stick? Beat her would be counterproductive, I think. Yeah, but if I don't have a stick, I'm not so sure she'll get up. Now, you don't really think I would hit her with a big stick, do you? Maybe a small stick, but not a big stick. High 80s. How about humidity? Well, you live far enough. You guys probably do have some humidity, don't you? I mean, as compared to further west, like we have lots and lots and lots of humidity, but 600 miles west of us, same latitude, they don't have any hardly. Yeah, that's probably about what it is here too, Tina. It's muggy to say the least. Because she did. Well, you got a point there, Tina. Well, right now she can't hit back harder. Right now might be the one of the few times in our life over the next period of years that I might be able to outrun her. And that's saying a lot because I can't outrun much. Well, I'll put it this way, Carol. If she hit me, she'd make my life miserable. I'll tell you that much. So don't worry. Nobody's going to be hitting on Brenda. So that's depressing. I thought I had more coffee left than that. That is a sad, sad thing. The bottom of a good whiskey bottle and the empty thermos. That's two sad, sad things. Now, if it rains into the night, Carolyn, it'll be cooler. It rained here just before sundown, so it probably didn't cool off much. Just in case Brenda comes on tonight or Saturday morning, and either one of you ladies are here, you don't have to mention this to her about hitting her and catching me and hitting me back, okay? Just be our little secret, right? And if everything goes well, there'll be a gift in the mail. I don't know who all be here tonight. They may have seen my banner and just ran off and left. Bribery. Yeah, bribery's not a nice word, but it'll get you just about anywhere. Okay, I missed something about eating there. I know I don't think anybody from the um, Monarchs will make it in tonight. They may be on the road. Hello, Elena, and welcome. Okay, shh. By Elena's not here. Just whisper. Hello, Elena. How are you tonight? Hopefully, I'm still on the air there. I thought I unplugged my mic for a minute. Well, I sure wish our friend Elena was here. I'd say aloha to her. Of course, she isn't here. So. No, Carol, it's sorry. I would say aloha too, but I forgot. Oh, well, that's good. I hate those kind of work days. I remember them. I don't have them anymore, but I remember them. You kind of brighten up the room, Elaine. I was just thinking the other day, even to watch a television show or something that's about Hawaii just seems to brighten up the whole day for me. I don't know. There's just something about somebody living in paradise. It's kind of nice. See, Elaine, I wasn't sure if you were home yet or not because I saw you posting food photos. So I thought you just might be home early tonight. Yeah, I mean, the green mountains, the perfectly blue skies, the blue water. I mean, it just, I'm not even a beach kind of person, but Hawaii just really makes me smile. I think that's why I love the Polynesian Disney World so much. Excuse me, folks, pardon me, my manners are awful. Yeah, it's just them kind of rushing to work fast. I used to hate that. Rush around, put out a fire, then rush around, put out a fire. And usually they had no business being lit in the first place. I don't know if it's like that out there, but if there's no snow, well, I think there's some up on top of the tall mountains out there. All right. It's just that the tall mountains are so few of them, and so only a few peaks that high, and it doesn't affect the rest of the country. They want to be right back. Okay, I can talk better now. My problem at work, or our problem at work, was the fires didn't usually start on our floor. We just had to put them out there, but we weren't always able to prevent the flare up. Maybe sometimes. Well, I hope you guys don't get snow tonight or this month. Or Carol said she didn't work today, but she picked up her new work computer. I got to read this here. What she said. Oh, I know what she's going to say. I love it, except all the ports are USB-C, and I can't plug anything into it. So I finally write it down. Yeah, I've run into that too already, Carol. I bought something not too long ago, and I started realizing everything's going to C. And I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm going to have to, whatever I do next is going to require me to update more. What's that? Hey, Kay, I didn't see you pop in. Good evening. And Dean, I'm sorry I missed you too. I saw you come in and then forgot to say hi. Dean was reading some stories tonight, and Dean, I appreciate the shout out for the cat tonight. And Dean read The Lion King, and I don't know how far you got in the second book, Dean. Diana, be nice to Kay. That wasn't nice. Like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Oh, you finished it. I thought it was going to be a longer book than that, longer story. Because I guess I was imagining that would have to be longer. I mean, it's about dinosaurs. I wondered if you were going to pick up on that, Diana. You were going to give Kay a bad impression of Canadian. Here we were thinking he's so nice in a fly. Kay walked into the room. Hell, Kay. Hell, Kay, what are you doing here? But we knew you meant hello. Oh, Carol, if I have to get a cuss jar, I'm going Oh, it was a kid. So, well, okay, it was a shorter version. Well, I still thought it might be a longer story. I wasn't sure. I have to better ask Carol. Depending on the word, does the cost go up? Because I may be broke by the end of the week if that's the case. Same here, Diana. That's what I'm worried about. Like I said, I'll be out of my retirement money and I'll be gone in no time. Well, just like Saturday morning, I start talking, I have to yawn. That's right. So if I say something like that or print something like that in here, guys, you know it's for me. It's got to be a typo, verbal typo, or finger typo, whatever the case may be. But you do verbal typos. Switching back to your phone. Oh, okay. Well, I wouldn't want you to get in trouble, Elena. So let me tell you what I was thinking when I sent that thumbnail out. I've been trying to think of some different things I was going to talk about. And I've got so many things I would like to talk about, but some of them are uh, rough and greed kind of can be too. But I got to talking about. I was thinking about it, trying to think of all the different ways people are greedy, and it's not just always about money. Say hi to Chuck. Oh yeah, and I think sometimes when I'm online, I think about greedy. I think about currently. I think about Disney, which is not something I used to say. And I mean, I'll be honest, it does come to mind the way things have been going lately. But that's not the only way people are greedy. I think we all tend to be a bit greedy from time to time, but we all have a certain amount of want or need to. Well, I don't know if that's greedy. I started saying to be ahead or to do better, but just to do better is not greed. I think to do better is a noble aspiration. I think we, for some reason, feel like we have to have more cars or more motorcycles or bigger house or more money. And that's the greedy aspect of people. That sometimes I don't understand, and sometimes I probably never will. Sometimes I'll probably never be in a position to be that way. But I don't know. Some people have that need. They have a need to have more than Johnny, and Johnny wants to have more than Aunt Sally. And I mean, it's never. Sometimes it seems like it never stops. At the same time, in a simple sense, I guess greed's what our whole economy is built on in a way. Okay, I don't know. Is anybody else to sound bad? Because if it is, maybe it's on my end. I hit my mic a while ago. Harold, what do you say? You're not good for you. Okay, Dean, it's bad for you too. Okay, tell me what is it bad because you can't hear me, or bad because there's background noise? And I'm probably mumbling. Okay, I'm too far away from the mic, I guess. Not. Maybe I was trying not to be too loud. Sound is echoing. Well, that's not good. Other people's stuff. That's interesting, Tina. Okay, I need to. I guess I need to figure out. Let me check my attachments here real quick. I don't usually have that problem, or if I do, nobody's told me about it. I really need to get closer, I'll probably have to stand my foot through my phone different. Okay, now can you hear me? Yeah, I muted it accidentally, but I got it back on. How is it tonight? Or how is it now? I'm reading the chat and trying to talk at the same time. I was muted, Elena. I'm not now. I had accidentally unplugged my mic and then plugged it back up. And didn't realize that automatically put it on mute. Better. Okay. All right. I'll try to stay a little bit closer to the mic tonight too. On top of that, that might help. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to take by better. It's good. Okay. Oh, Dean said I sound beautiful. That's an improvement, if that's possible. It's a little bit closer here now. All this sophisticated stuff. You know, bears are not all that technologically or tech savvy. And we got big paws that don't work on little things well. Sorry about that, guys. So Tina threw out the point that in her way of looking at a lot of greed is people who want other people's stuff. And I won't disagree with that. That's definitely a form of greed. Now, I might not see the chat right as well because I've got it covered up. Sit back comfortably now. You might have fixed it, but okay. Well, let me see how this is. Is this still okay? Although, Tina, I'm going to tell you a little secret. I'm not sure there is such a thing as sitting comfortably right now. That's I've got to seriously go back to the doctor, I think. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. It's Brenda's turn to be gimpy right now, not mine. So anyway, that is, you know, I've known people that just wanted to, how to put that, and I think there's different ways of wanting things. I mean, I don't think necessarily when somebody's willing to work hard, if you're not taking advantage of other people to get it, I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. But it's when you step on the little guy, so to speak, and when you take advantage of other people, then it's not such a good thing. Mike says he's not greedy, but I don't want to pay taxes anymore. Well, you know, Mike, I don't disagree. I pay taxes out of a sense of I do pay taxes out of a sense of that's my part, but I get what you're saying. And you guys probably, I don't know what you guys pay, probably more than we do. I'm not sure how that works up there, but maybe someday we'll have a long conversation about that because I'd always be curious about that with medical insurance. No, it's not, Tina. You're absolutely correct. My backside's what's hurting right now, though, most of the time. It's those glutes where I tore my glute muscles and wrecked the hamstring in one leg and all that stuff that's torn loose in there just has gotten real achy of late. So sometimes it makes it hard to set up in a chair. I've tried about everything. I'm not going to whine about this tonight. We can talk about that Saturday or something, but uh, I don't want I don't want to take up too much of my time or your all's time by just bemoaning my own bad luck. Oh, that's what Tina said. I don't have to put that up there. But when it comes to taxes, though, I have to admit, Mike, I don't always understand. I don't, okay, maybe that's not the right way to start that sentence. There are so many people today that don't want to pay any taxes or pay as few as possible. And if everybody does that, I'm not sure how we're going to have schools and roads that we can drive on and just a lot of other things that we need and have. And now I know that there's always going to be somebody who says, yeah, if they didn't waste so much of our money, it wouldn't be a problem. But there's a whole lot of things going on that one person thinks is wasteful and another person thinks is needed. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people out there that would probably tell you that the amount of money we spend every year on our military is pretty wasteful. And then there's another whole world of people out there that would say we don't spend enough. Elena, me too, but I just don't know if it's ever going to or not. Like they talk like it might not. So, Mike, is that? I mean, you're not. That's not hyperbole. You do, or because I always thought the UK was worse, but I don't know that really. It always bothers me when the poorest of people that I know or have known complain about taxes because they really pay so few compared to others, and yet they don't think so. And but if they're also the same ones that need some of those other services, that need things that they can't afford or don't have the ability to. Oh, I'm not saying it is, Tina. I'm just saying it's a lot. I'm not trying to make that argument for or against it. I'm just saying that some people would say that and some people would say it's a waste to go to other places. I'm just saying there's always two sides to that coin. And I'm not saying it's about all the military versus anything else. I'm just pointing that out that there's always um, an argument to and fro or back and forth. What used to really bother me the most when it comes to military spending was how much private contractors milked out of the military because they could. And for example, we all remember the $600 coffee makers that that supposedly were being put in airplanes. And this was, well, maybe we all don't remember that because that's before some of our time. But that was probably in what, the 80s, mid 80s, and but which reminded me of something else. Oh, for example, contractors that build airplanes. I used to work with some guys that worked in, let's say military plants that did a lot of military contract work, and it was unbelievable the amount of waste that they talked about. And it had to do with tools and parts and supplies. Not that people were taken home. It's just that it was thrown away constantly, and every time they would start a new project, they got all new tooling, and there was a whole world of us out there doing the same job with the tools they threw away when we could get our hands on them. We don't spend enough on our Canadian military, but that's going to change. And why is that, Mike? Because of, I mean, it's just politics in general, or two sides, and that goes back to the talk of last week. Yeah, and I have to think. You do realize I've slept several times since last week, Tina. I have to think about that for a minute. Um, for example, I had a friend that worked out of Dallas, and there's a whole bunch of airplane factories down there that do military contracts. And every time they got a change in not just design or style, but maybe even just big retrofits, all the tools went into a big bucket and they went out the door. And part of their contract was to get all brand new tooling. Now, sometimes stuff is worn out and it needs to be replaced, and I think it should be. But most of the time, that wasn't the case, because I did manage to buy a few things over the years through the surplus market, and some of it was brand new. And I mean, literally in the box, kind of brand new, and it was nuts. But that's just one example of, when we talk about wasting money and taxes, as we often do here, that's we got to look back and see where all that waste really is. And I'm not trying to start a fight about that. I know there's a lot of different ways. $500 for a hammer, $1,000 for a toilet seat. That money was going into a contract. Absolutely, it was, Tina. Someone wasn't paying attention to the contracts. Yeah, and that always bothered me, Tina. Who was supposed to be? Who is supposed to be? And the other thing that bothers me, that's in, for example, some of the ones I knew were coming out of Texas, and most Texans are, one of those people that just do not pay taxes. Yes, and I think that's great. Absolutely it is, Tina. It certainly is. I mean, if you think about it, how un-American is it to want to overcharge your government to build the war machines that you're wanting to protect for them to protect you with? I mean, and that's what it amounts to. It's a way for somebody to get rich quick or make a lot of money. I won't say get rich quick, but make a lot of money while producing a product that that most people will think we need, because that's what we have to do to protect ourselves. But just having to protect ourselves shouldn't mean we have to be overcharged for it. Mike, we're the 25th for overall tax. I believe the U.S. is higher than us for income tax. See, Mike, I mean, and I'm not picking on you, Mike, but that's a good point, because I think that a lot of people here say that a lot, but if they really knew what they're paying, would find out they're not paying that much either. I mean, and then there's so many ways to get out of it here. Kay says it may not be a popular opinion, but we need to be harder on people with disability and unemployment. Well, I'd probably argue with that, Kay, because right now the only thing that's keeping me alive is being able to draw some disability from my injuries and problems. There is some unemployment abuse, I won't deny, but even that, in this state, if you're living on unemployment in this state, I'll tell you, you're starving to death, because this state doesn't pay hardly anything in unemployment. Welfare, if it's federal, might be more, but unemployment's not much. I've drawn it. It's pretty sad. But Kay, I do get your point. I have unfortunately known a lot of people who rode the dole train, as they used to say, and they, if you were off in a corner or about behind the barn talking about it, they'd tell you the truth, but you'd never know that talking to them in public, or when they went down to the Social Security office or wherever they needed to go to, draw that check or to make sure that happened, because it was a way to make money. And that's, I don't know if that's greed or laziness in that case. Tina, just out of curiosity, and this isn't to knock New York or anything like that, but what do you guys pay food tax, as in on groceries? Do you pay taxes on groceries? When you come back, you can answer this. And if so, what other sales tax, or do you pay sales tax in general? Tons of people in Canada riding that train or rolling the gold train. Well, hey, Teddy. Somebody just showed up and stuck his head in my hand, and then I realized who it was. Sometimes he sneaks up on me. Not to chase a squirrel. Tina's not here to count it, so I can, but sometimes I'll be laying on the couch and all of a sudden I'll have all the wind knocked out of me. It'll be like a big whoa, 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 whoa. And it's him jumping up from the ground. In the state I live in, and this is going off on taxes. Hey, Dave, welcome. We're talking about taxes now more than what I meant to talk about, but it's related in some cases. But we pay sales tax on everything, and the minimum in this state now is 9 3/4, and that's on our food, on all groceries. Drugs don't count. We do get that tax free, and I guess some medical stuff is not taxed. We tax labor in this state. They tax pretty much everything they can. All of that to avoid paying an income tax. And I don't want to get into a big income tax route tonight, but what most people don't realize is if they did pay an income tax, if they cut back the sales tax and at least took it off everybody's food, they'd be paying a whole lot more than what most people in this state would pay on an income tax, because most people in this state don't make enough money to pay income tax. I mean, when your whole economy is pretty much based on tourism and all kinds of other minimum wage opportunities, there's not a lot of tax going into the income drawer in that respect. That's gone up some right now because of COVID and all the things that's happened. People are having to pay more money to get workers now for those low paying jobs from before. I mean, fast food workers around here now are, in the mid teens, and which may or may not be much where you're living, but where we are, they were they never paid anybody who worked in fast food industry, or if you were a clerk in a grocery store or a stock boy, or you never got anything more than minimum wage. That's worse than Georgia's sales tax, that is. Yeah, it is. I thought it was, Dave, in Kentucky, they don't charge sales tax on food, or at least not most food. And so you can go up there and buy a lot of stuff cheap. A lot of people that live close to the border will do that. They'll go into that state, and they'll go into Kentucky, for example, and buy their groceries just so they don't have to pay sales tax on food. And when it comes to taxes, a sales tax on food is it's one of the worst kinds of taxes because it affects everybody. So poor people are paying the same percentage as the guy next door who's got $1 bazillion. So Tina says they pay tax on everything but most food. Candy and cookies are taxed. We also pay state and local sales tax, property tax, school tax separately. Ours is all rolled into. We pay property tax, which is also school tax, and some other things taken out of that, but it's low here. Property tax here, to my understanding, I've never lived many places where I'd pay property taxes, much lower here than it is in most places. Our local sales tax is mixed in with the state. The state sales tax here is pretty low. It's local taxes that tend to run it up. But we do not have income tax in this state. That's another reason people from up north like to move down here. Yeah, I do too, Elena. That would be very helpful. That's one of the things I was talking about. Is that is that the case in Hawaii? Is that you guys pay tax on groceries out there too? I don't think that's necessarily greedy, Kay. I feel like I worked for mine. I was lucky. Here's the other thing about living in this part of the country. For a long time, it was a very rare thing for someone in this part of the country to have a um, retirement plan other than Social Security, which most people wouldn't really call much of a retirement plan. Property taxes, because school tax and municipal taxes on our property are pretty high. So school taxes and that kind of stuff is in with your property taxes, right, Tina? Am I understanding that correctly? I know they're down to around $4 here, or getting close to $4, and maybe under that in some places. I don't know about Georgia now. Georgia was way lower than us back when everything else was going up. So Dave can have to tell us what Georgia is. California, I think, is still pretty high. Some parts of the country are low, Mike, and some parts of the country are high. Income tax, goods and service tax, provincial tax, carbon tax, school and property tax, and more. So you pay a separate school and property tax. Oh, okay. You pay income tax. Never mind. I got that mixed up for a minute. Sorry. Well, maybe we're going to talk about taxes after all. When it used to burn me up, I know this is going to sound wrong. People aren't going to agree with this. I'm quite sure. It used to burn me up when the guy that owned the company, for example, where my father worked for 40 years, people that owned that company, were some of the millionaires in the local town, which actually had a lot of millionaires as it turned out. Nobody would have thought that. But they were the only ones. But they didn't pay anything above minimum wage to any employee they had. And they had very little in the way of medical insurance. They had no retirement plans. If you had a retirement plan, it was just you putting in your money into it, and they didn't do anything with it. Maybe somehow it had their name on it, but that was it. And that's interesting, Tina. I mean, it varies a lot here. I mean, in this country, it really varies from wherever you're at. You move to move to California, you're going to pay high property taxes. If you want to pay cheap property taxes, move to Tennessee, but don't expect your kids to get much of an education. The southern tier of states have got some of the worst schools. Tennessee, I didn't think Tennessee had bad schools when I grew up. I felt like I got a good education, but I'm not sure that's the case now. Mississippi is always ranked extremely low. I'm not sure about Alabama now. Kay, that's an interesting thought because, there were some companies who I think did go out of their way to make sure their employees did get a decent wage and had something to look forward to retirement with. And I think that was one of the ways they used to keep employees and built loyalty in their employees, to the company and vice versa. I don't know about that. One, younger employees today don't have a lot of loyalty to companies. So, and that's and that's part of the problem in this country is because most of those guys the younger people are putting money away in other ways. So they're not paying taxes on it, at least not up front. And, sorry, guys, get to messing with my beard, and it looks like it's just smashed all over my face or something. Anyway, that's another story too. But it's I think that's another way greed works to the general population's not benefit. Greed definitely plays into the wealthier you are, the better off you are. The more you're going to be able to rake in and put away. And I think greed pays a great deal into that pot. I don't believe it has to do with how much you throw at a school. It's about the way the community is encouraged to be involved in school. That's definitely part of it, Tina. I won't deny that. But when your school, when your student, your teachers, and I don't know if this is probably this way everywhere, but I know in this state, if the teachers don't go out and buy their own supplies and have all that kind of stuff, they don't have money for it, period. I mean, I've donated for class projects for years. You walk into any grocery store around here this time of year, and they have school packets that they encourage people to buy so they can take them to the schools and hand out to the kids that can't afford them. And there are kids here who can't afford them, just pencils and notebooks and just rudimentary things that you'd think wouldn't be that big of a deal. But if you ain't got it, you ain't got it. Pardon my English, um, because it's just not there, and there's no money for that in the schools. Now, if you're in a private school, and yeah, never mind, I won't go there. I started to say something about other teachers like some daycares and things like that. I could see they might, but they may have more money anyway. But we have to. Kids have to supply that, or the teachers go out and get it themselves. And the teachers in this day aren't paid all that great. So on top of not making a lot of money, they're spending a lot of it. The good ones, at least, are spending a lot of it on their students. Kay, I've got a book, and to everyone here, but since Kay brought up that thing about a little bit more about teachers, I have a book that is called A Gift of Wings, and it was written by an author named Richard Bach, who wrote some kind of strange books, but he also wrote some really interesting ones, such as Jonathan Livingston Seagull, which, if you're not interested in flying, might also seem like a strange book. But I was told one time, and I hear this from time. In fact, I just heard this the other day, that those who can do and those who can't teach, which I think is really backwards from how it should be. And in this book he talks about sort of a utopian society out there, if you will, who are pilots and aviators, and they'll swoop down out of the mountain, so to speak, into a fixed base operation, and they'll grab up all the maintenance manuals and everything they've got on all kinds of airplanes, and they'll copy all kinds of stuff, and then they'll ride off into the sunset, because they're taking that stuff to train mechanics and pilots and educate. They believe that those who can should educate those who can't. And I've always thought that was well put, versus those who can't teach. I mean, think about that for a minute. If you really believe that, if that's really your philosophy, then what are you really what are your kids getting for teachers? I mean, then do you really want to feel like your kids are getting the worst in our society, or the least able to teach, as opposed to those who really know what they're doing? Okay, let's see here. They weren't disabled. I'm here, just can't chat much. Well, you sit there and listen, Carol, and you can just write me a note later and give me up and down the road about it. They weren't disabled. I'm sorry. I know you'll frown at this, but they were raised to be on welfare. I used to call them womb to tomb. Well, yes, I know there was some of that going on. I just don't think that's everybody. And they got angry at people who had money, and they called them greedy. That used to make me so mad. Well, that's a different. And you're right, Tina. I don't. I can't say I totally disagree with that, because if it's abused, that's not right. And but when you see people out there that are working their arses off to make minimum wage and try to make a living, and probably working 2 or 3 jobs at the time, I mean, do you just tell them they need to work harder, or you need to figure out a way to make their pay more equitable? Hey, Rhonda, how you doing? You might want to take a step back and look in the room before you come all the way through the door. Well, it can't be everybody, because there wouldn't be anybody paying taxes. Well, that's true. You got a point there. And I'm going to say it and like to throw another match on it, but I really believe if the wealthiest in this country only paid the percentages that we pay, we'd be a lot better off in this country. A lot of things could have the money to fund it that they needed. It still drives me crazy when I hear about the wealthiest in this country paying zero taxes. And I don't know. That just bugs me. You're watching your hometown football game on TV. What are they doing playing football the first week in August, Rhonda? Has football already started? Now that really is a segue into a squirrel, but I'm you got my curiosity there. I think school's still got a couple of weeks before it really kicks off here, but they probably won't start playing football till September. Although they're probably practicing right now in this heat, which is kind of hard on kids. I mean, sometimes I don't know how they do it. But then again, I used to work in this kind of heat, so I guess they're similar. We should have a flat tax, and by the way, that's a fallacy. Which part? They have a week-long festival and enshrine the players that were elected in the Hall of Fame. Well, that's interesting. Is that? I don't actually know where your home state is. Is that Ohio? The richest pay taxes, but it's corporate rather than personal income tax. Not here because they don't pay income tax. And if you've got a good auditor, or not an auditor, excuse me, if you've got a good accountant, you don't pay any corporate tax either. And I know that for a fact because my in-laws do that regularly and brag about it. So, and that really makes me mad. But what can I say? Yes, but they pay low federal taxes. I promise you, they pay absolute minimum they can get away with and brag about it all the time. They write everything off for their business, and it doesn't matter if it's their baby. It doesn't matter if it's a baby crib and a push buggy. No, I don't think it will. I mean, I think you're right, Kay. I mean, that's why I say I think you ought to at least pay the same amount. But as long as there are loopholes and as long as you can pay a guy to write your taxes so you don't have to pay anything, some people aren't going to ever be able to do that. I mean, they're not going to ever do that. I hope Brenda's asleep so she won't hear me, but well, I'm not going to say that. My in-laws have a relatively small construction company. I've had one for a long time, and they've bragged to me year after year about how they don't pay taxes because they write everything off. They can come up on paper with enough stuff to say that that they're going broke all the time and they're paying taxes, and they take a lot of cash under the table, and they've got a safe. They've got a safe in their basement that's full of cash that nobody knows anything about, and that's very common around here. Probably not the fault of the person, Tina, but it doesn't mean it don't need to be fixed. Yeah, and I don't disagree with you there either. That's where I think elected officials need to be have their butts kicked and move on down the pipe too. But that's getting into another line of conversation that I really wasn't going to tonight. But that would be eliminated by a flat tax. I think so, Tina. And I've read about the flat tax some. I've heard some things sound good about a flat tax, and I might agree with you on that if I know more about it. I don't disagree with you. It certainly sounds better than what we do now. I mean, even if you pay, let's just say you paid. I mean, I'm just pulling this out of the air. This is not realistic, okay? But if somebody makes $25,000 a year, and people around here do, and you still pay 10% on all your groceries, a bigger chunk out of your payroll as opposed to the family down the road that makes say a couple $100,000 a year and pay the same 9% or 10%, which is what it rounds off to around here most of the state. I think there's a couple of states where it might be 10.25% or something, but that in that sense, that tax hurts the poor worse than it does the rich because that's a much bigger chunk out of there. Because that's something you pay every time you go to the grocery store. It's not based on your income. You're paying my taxes. All right, shut up, Garrett. We don't want to know about your taxes. Who invited you back in? We're paying Garrett's taxes by having to be his moderators and stuff. I like that idea, Tina. Rhonda, don't encourage him. And that's another thing that upset me tonight. I wanted to watch Jeopardy tonight, and football already on. Now, it's not time for them to be playing football either. Oh, they probably are whining, Rhonda. The Raiders whine all the time. I'm not going to argue that point with you, Tina. It's still a bigger chunk out of their payday. And we pay tax on all food. Anything that's in the grocery store except for prescription drugs, we pay a tax on. And it's the full tax. I know there's some states where they pay less tax on food, but we pay the 10% on every dollar we get here, no matter what it is, prepared food or unprepared food in the grocery store. Yeah, my kids used to they ran afoul of that a couple of times too, Ron. Even though we always tried to tell them that you got to count the tax in. Wait, I can't respond to chat. I'm driving, but that was a funny text. Which one? Oh, we just had ours, Kay. We had a tax-free weekend last weekend. Unfortunately, I was unable to really participate. And that only applies to certain things here. It's mostly school stuff, school clothes, um, computers up to a certain price point. It's not everything's not tax free, but the stuff people need right now to get their kids back in school is. I know people up here sometimes go to Georgia. I don't know what your tax is down there right now, Rondon, like clothing and stuff. But I know people up here used to go down there and buy clothes because they said it was cheaper on taxes. Oh, everybody there goes to Chattanooga. Well, that's interesting. Because I used to know a lot of people that went to Georgia, but maybe that was a tax-free weekend or something. I don't know. Or maybe that was just a vicious rumor that I used to hear all the time. So you guys don't pay tax on groceries then, Tina? because I missed that earlier. Hey, Dave, welcome in. Okay, that is interesting. That's I don't know if we had scuba suits on ours or not. It all I know when our kids were in school, we could buy school clothes and some school equipment. I mean, some school supplies. You didn't have to pay tax on. Like I said, a laptop or certain computers under. I think as long as it was under $1,200 or $1,500 max or something, you didn't have to pay tax. After that, you were paying tax. Well, I suppose that's true, Rhonda. You might have a point there. But I'm a little bit like Kay. I never had that, needed that for one of my classes. But then again, I didn't live anywhere near a large body of water either. Well, not too far from the lake. Closest thing we might have had to that was Kelsey's Pond. If anybody laughs about that, I'll know where you heard it. We'll have something else in common. Well, that would be the only reason I could think of they'd be on there, but you never know. I saw something. That's interesting, Tina. I didn't know. I didn't catch that earlier. You probably said that, Tina, and I missed it. But I mean, that's how they get away with not having income tax down here and lower property taxes too. They just charge it all in on the sales tax. And we used to have, and we at one time we actually had the highest tax on gas in the country, but I think that's changed now. I don't think Tennessee. I don't think Tennessee has the highest gas tax anymore. But we did at one time. I don't know where Georgia stands on that regard. I used to think that was why Georgia's gas was cheaper than ours, maybe just because it's like gas tax. But well, Dave, I would suggest that maybe everybody out down there just ought to quit thinking. Well, they'd go broke in a hurry then. I was pricing insurance policies today, $400 a month for one people, no priors. Then I did it with Florida address, 120 down for a better What? Oh, $120 less if you lived in Florida for a better policy. Is that what you're saying, Rhonda? I guess it paid off taxes. We had a surplus. So we haven't had to pay taxes on gas for months. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Not sure how that makes me feel. like I was getting gouged to begin with, or at least they are giving it. At least they're giving it back to you. So, oh, I'm still not sure I understand, Rhonda. So you got it from a company in Florida, and it was that much cheaper, or you had to give them or you gave them a Florida address and got it cheaper. Well, this will tell you how bad it is here. There's still a lot of people driving around this state with no insurance, even though they're not supposed to be able to do that. It happens every day. Aha, I see. Be careful there. If they catch you, just tell them you just moved up. Well, that's interesting, Rhonda. How far down south do you live now? And maybe you really do. I don't know. But where did I see? I saw another comment. Oh, Diana. I wonder what the difference is between here and Canada. That's an interesting thing. Well, it varies by state here, though. I mean, depending on what state you live in and then what city you live in, and whoever rates the city for crazy drivers, that makes your rate go up, and just all kinds of things. Gas was $3.59 a gallon the other day. Wow, if it was $3.59 a gallon the other day, it's probably gone down since then because ours has dropped some in just the last week. I'll have to look at mine and see what it is, Tina. We used to have our car and at least one or two motorcycles on mine for a long time. Is that on one vehicle, Diana? Not. I don't. Not getting nosy. I'm just curious about the. Well, they were supposed to, but I didn't know if they were going to, or at least there was a rumor they were supposed to or might, Rhonda. So that's interesting. So Ohio is cheaper on gas now. That's interesting. Rhonda. Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I was getting back to, Tina. I said that, and then I realized that it is here too. I mean, if you live in Nashville, you pay more for insurance than you do if you live in Jonesboro, which is the upper end of the state. You pay more here in Knoxville than you do outside the city, or just because this town has such a bad reputation for drivers, and the fact that we've got multiple interstates that crisscross right through this city, so that makes it bad. Two busiest interstates in the country used to be I-75 and I-40, and they both cross right dead center in the middle of Knoxville. Oh, okay, Rhonda, I got you. I thought gas was higher there. That's what threw me. $4.35 every 6 months. That's not bad at all, Kay. I'm pretty sure that's less than what we pay. So that's roughly what, Mike? About $6 a gallon by our standards. I calculated that just the other day, and I don't remember. I can probably do that math real quick here. I think I've still got that on my. Well, no, I changed it. No, that's right. Liter. 1 liter. Now 4 liters is just a tiny bit over a gallon here, so you're paying. Yeah, you're paying almost $7 a gallon. So you're higher than we are here, but probably less than what Garrett's paying in California. I think. I don't know if theirs has gone down much now or not. For your $6.76, Mike, you're getting just a little bit more than our gallon, but that's still higher. Ours never did get that high this year at all. In this state, in other states it did, and there may have been places in Tennessee, Nashville, or Memphis. I don't know. It may have gotten that high. In this state, they always used to tell me it depended on where it was at, how close it was to either the railroad or quote unquote the pipeline or the river, because they transport it in different ways and depends on what's cheaper. But you can't get it off the river in every part of Tennessee. 367. Don't tell Mike about that, Kay. Mike and Diana, they'll be moving down here for sure. That's almost, not quite, but almost half what they're paying. Okay, well, we strayed and got off topic a bit, but in some ways it still kind of comes down to the same thing. It depends on who's wanting what, who's wanting money and how they're going about getting it. And let's see, it's a 11:15. I think I'm going to wind down early tonight because I'm in just a wee bit of pain, and I need to go check on Brenda. So since she's upstairs and I'm downstairs right now, I can't hear her. If she was up there in the floor yelling, I wouldn't know it. No, I have some good friends, Kay, including you from South Carolina. I can't say that that's completely true. You know what they said about South Carolina, Kay, when the Civil War broke out? They said Carolina was too small for a republic to stand alone and too big for an insane asylum. Well, I appreciate that, Rhonda. I hope I do too someday soon. I don't know. I'm going to have to go back to the doctor. Hey, there's Mike and Val. Good evening, pass holder pair. Well, I won't leave yet. I've got people coming in. Why would I got company coming. Why did I think you were in North? Which North? Why did I think you were in North? You're not talking to me, are you, Rhonda? You're talking to Kay, I bet. Well, thank you, Elena. We really appreciate that. I'll tell Brenda you passed on that. I'll pass that along to her. Oh, I'm not gonna. I wasn't gonna leave just yet, but I'm gonna start working on it because I was gonna leave about 11 tonight. Okay, you were talking to Kay. Well, I figured that out finally. Mike, did you get that link I sent you yesterday about Woodruff Reserve? I think it was Woodruff. Just thought you might can appreciate that. I'm sorry, my nose is running. Like a sugar tree, as we say. Yeah, well, sometimes I believe that too, Mike. Well, I know I'd believe that because all you have to do is sneeze in the general direction of, where the oil refineries are, and they'll immediately start jacking up the prices, even if nothing's happened. Which that just blows my skirts up because I'm not sure how. I still don't know how they justify. Hey, Teddy, you're leaving. You want to say bye? No. Did you catch it? Teddy's going tonight. I don't know if he's heard enough or what. Hey, you want to say bye to Carol? Actually, maybe he's chasing a bug. You get it? I don't know. I can't see it. Never had it. I never seen that, Mike. Interesting. Somebody else made a comment there, and I didn't respond, and I meant to. Oh, we were talking about gas companies jacking up their prices. Oh, I'm not saying it's just it. I mean, it goes all the way to the barrel. I mean, I agree there, Tina. As soon as there's any signs of any disruption in the fuel flow in this country or refineries, they start raising the prices immediately. And then if it no, Mike, but I can. I certainly will, Mike Cabral. I meant Passold Repair Mike. I know he shares or probably even has a more refined taste in adult beverages than I do, but they do share a like for certain whiskeys. And I just feel like it's taking advantage of people, and that burns me up. But that's just me. That's true, Kay. I'm not sure what's up with you. It's the heat down there. It makes people nuts. If you live down in all that. Hi, everyone. It's Michelle. Well, hi, Michelle. How do we know? Say something nice so we'll know it's you and not Garrett. Or no, just say something and let us decide. It may be living in all that low swamp country down there, Kay. Well, Diana, we had to make a jump there. But if you think about it, who said that? Diana, if you think about it, the whiskey's not that big of a jump, really. Not in some places. Swamp gas, that's right, Kay. It's the swamp gas that drives people nuts down there. Oh, did we get? Oh, okay. Well, that might be her then. Yeah, Garrett wouldn't do that. Oh, you guys are on the road. Are you doing I don't know if Tina, tell me if this is a squirrel or not. Are you guys doing a travel stream, Michelle? Heck, it's not even dark out there. Well, I guess it is dark, but no, I don't know if it is or not. Is it dark out there yet? It's so wrong that California gets like 3 more hours of daylight than we do here in Tennessee. I want that changed right now. I know one thing out there, Mike. I know they're wishing they can get a little bit of rain. Ooh, 102. Mercy. Yeah, well, you got about 6 more hours than we get alone. That's really unfair. Of course, you get 6 more hours of darkness, I guess. Although I have to ask where you're at, Elena, does it get daylight? What time does it get daylight? Because there's no mountains between California and Hawaii to block the sun. So as soon as it comes over the top of the mountains in California, it ought to be hitting you guys, shouldn't it? It's not. Let me read this, Mike. I got to think about this a minute. You know, with putting gas in our vehicles, we ought to put in what we need. We never went out to fill our tanks. Damn, I felt like I had to give in. I think I understand that, Mike. Yeah. I guess I get that. Don't want to give them too much. Not all at once, anyway. Hey, Ian. Happy Thursday, buddy. What do you mean the earth isn't flat, Ian? Don't come in here and start and spread those kind of rumors in the middle of my chat. You get people all confused. Oh my goodness, 130 proof. That's serious. I think my buddy Phil's had an old bottle of Old Forester. Is that also bonded and bond or whatever they call it, Mike? Yeah, the discussion is over for tonight. We're going to talk about whiskey, insurance, and how much gas Mike Kerbal and company are buying. Sunrise is just after 7 a.m., but it gets to the lighted before then. It's to be lighted. That's not. You're not getting that much of an advantage. Okay, I guess the world's not flat then, Ian, because it's having to get over the curve to get out there and hit Hawaii. You're right. Oh, that's right. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better, Ian. Oh yeah, Rhonda, I forgot about the sun. Pardon me. That's some lofty conversation talking about the sun. Get it? See what I did there? Ian, I have a question for you. And this goes back to a serious conversation I had earlier today. Where you live in Colorado, do you guys have bees? Now, not wasps and not yellow jackets, but bees, like honeybees or bumblebees or wood bees or bees. Conversation about the sun can get heated. Good one, Ian. I like that. But you need a rim shot there for Ian. Okay, Tina said something funny and I missed it. Old native saying only a white man will cut a foot off the top of a blanket and throw it onto the bottom and say the blanket is longer. So, well, no, I thought you did that so your feet would stay warmer, Tina. We used to cut it off the top, sew it on the bottom so our feet didn't stick out as bad. Yeah. Yeah, well, I understand that, Rhonda. I appreciate that. We got them all here too. The reason I'm asking Ian that question is because I talked to my buddy Mark today, and we were on a whole nother subject, but somehow, I don't know, Tina, would you believe this? Somehow we got off on something else, Mark and I. Anyway, we got to talking. I asked him a question about honeybees and his hummingbird feeders, and he said, we don't have honeybees. And we got to talking about it, and that part of Wyoming has no bees. And apparently very few people even trying to mess with honeybees because they're so hard to maintain in the winter. They have yellow jackets. They have yellow jackets by the lots, and but no bees. See, Tina, you would have had to heard it to believe it. It was just amazing. We had to, Tina, when we're talking just he and I, and someone like you, for example, is not around to sort of warn us and keep us somewhat on track, or Carol, to slap our knuckles with a ruler. Oh, just a moment, Tina, and we'll discuss that. We wander all over the place pretty regularly. Half the time when I call, one of us calls the other one to ask a question about something, we never get to it because it changes so much. Okay, Ian says the cemetery memorial garden where my dad is interned, close enough, has big old bumblebees, honeybees out there. Okay, but we have tons of wasp and yellow jackets. There's more of those than the bumbles and honey. Well, Mark was telling me that eastern Wyoming, for example, more people have honeybees. And I asked him, well, what about Utah? Because, after all, it is the beehive state. And he said, well, here's the funny thing about that. When you drive down to Mark's house is a little over 7,000 feet elevation. When you drive down to Salt Lake City, they're just a little bit over 4,000. So you lose 3,000 feet. And that can make a big difference in general temperatures. So I can see why honeybees would survive down there, maybe. Okay, Tina. Okay, I might have misled someone. I apologize for that. We were trying to use our laptop in the car, and it may be it and try to stream in a bit. Oh, okay. Well, I'll try to look in on you and see if you are in a little bit. But anyway, back to the flowers and stuff, Tina. They butterflies, other flies, hummingbirds, and he named one other, and some other birds, and they all do basically they're doing the pollinating, and probably some other kinds of bugs that don't fly, that jump around from plant to plant or something, but they don't have honeybees and don't have bumblebees, and probably don't have any just pure bees, like, at least the natives. Like I said, you go east and they said there's honeybees over there. But around where he's at, he doesn't recall ever seeing a honeybee or a bumblebee of any kind. And I believe him because that boy writes down everything he sees in nature. And if he don't have it in his book, he ain't seen it. Hey there, Brian. Welcome in. Ian says, yep, they survive here. But yes, when we go up in the mountains, you're right, no regular bees. Never thought of it. Yeah, it's got to do with temperatures, I think, and he was thinking it has to do with temperatures, particularly winter temperatures, because honeybees can't survive in real cold weather. they have to be. That's why you don't ever want to open a hive in the middle of the winter. As long as they're closed up and surrounded by each other, they can stay pretty warm. But as soon as you open a hive and let the cold air in, there's a good chance they'll not survive. That's a whole nother chat. And I've had that chat in my stream before. What did Carol say? Carol, hi, Brian. Tina, it sounds like we can post that job wanting one observant individual to call out the bear for squirrels. What's that pay, Tina or Carol? Now that we've been talking about money, I might be interested in that. Tina is simply a squirrel counter, not a squirrel caller outer. Could be the thin air also. You know, they used to tell me that bumblebees, aerodynamically, bumblebees couldn't fly anyway, but nobody ever told the bumblebees. When they get up in thin air, they may not be able to fly. You might be absolutely correct, Tina. Update this. Rhonda's going to update her resume, squirrel counter. She's going to add squirrel counter. But you got to be aware when you get that resume in, Tina and Carol, look and see where she's living in Florida or Georgia. Or Ohio. Hey, bud. Come here. Come over here and say hi and good night to everybody before we go off. Come here. Come on. What are you doing, lazy? Come here. Jump up. Well, I can't get him to come up. Something has his attention, and he's not. She's everywhere. Savoir faire is everywhere. Which reminds me, I heard somebody talking about Dudley. I saw something today about Dudley Do-Right. Is there a theme park in the country that has Dudley Do-Right and other characters from that era of cartoons? I must know about this if there is. Savoir faire is everywhere was another cartoon that was on those in that same group. I guess they were Hanna-Barberas, but squirrel. Yeah, it was a squirrel, but it's past. I mean, I'm in squirrel neutral time right now. Or squirrel free. This is squirrel free radio. It's a squirrel free radio, Tina. Universal Islands of Adventure. Really? They have. I did not know that. See, it just goes to show you can learn something new every day. I had no idea that they had anything to do with any of those old cartoon characters like Dudley Do-Right. Royal Canadian Mountie, Mike and Diana. Did you guys have Dudley Do-Right cartoons up in your country? They have an whole section of the old cartoons. Well, I didn't know that. I will have to look that up. Thank you, Rhonda. Universal Orlando has a Dudley Do-Right ride. Well, maybe that's where I was saying it, Mike. Somebody posted a picture today, and it had Dudley Do-Right in the background, and I was trying to think, where in the world would that be? I did not know that they were there. The Popeye Raft Ride, huh? Does the Dudley Do-Right log ride have characters like Nell? Nell was his girlfriend. A mountie always gets his man, but not always his girl. Yeah, that's Dudley Do-Right, all right. The rides are a lot of fun. Well, Tina knows. How does squirrel taste? Well, it's not like chicken, Brian. Everybody says everything's like chicken, but to me, it just tastes like squirrel. I'm not sure how to. Nell is there too. Oh, be still my heart. It has been so long since I've seen anything about Dudley Do-Right. Ian said, yes, it had all the classic characters from what I can remember. That's cool. Where'd Brian go? We always, Brian, just so for a note of cultural exchange here, my mom used to bread and flour our squirrel and fry it and make gravy and have biscuits. So we had squirrel gravy and biscuits, and it was just kind of like eating chicken in that regard. But it's all dark meat for one thing. It's different, but certainly edible. Rabbit's closer. Rabbit might be a little milder. Well, wild rabbit's not so much. I've never eaten a white rabbit. Oh, that's good to know, Mike. I didn't know those were down there. I've never been to a Universal Studios park though, so what can I say? I've lived such a sheltered life. The Popeye ride gets you more wet than you can ever imagine getting. You get really, really wet. So it's what'd you say it was? A log raft ride, Tina? Is it like a log flume ride, but it's a raft? I could see why that would get you really wet. Ian says he remembers being soaked. Well, I bet that's a popular ride this time of year then. Popeye's the raft ride, okay. What does Rocky and Bullwinkle do, Rhonda? I like Natasha and Boris. Boris, time to kill moose and squirrel. They have a Dagwood sandwich. Well, I remember Dagwood, Blondie and Dagwood. I used to see them in the newspaper though. Raft ride, the Dudley Do Right ride is a log. Well, tell me about the raft ride, Tina. Is it like a log ride? Is it the same kind of thing? Rocky is the flume. We need an underdog ride. Have no fear. When that bit underdog is here. Ask Dean. I do, Brian. Ask Dean if he's this rooster George lately. I'm really concerned about George. I've got a bad feeling in the stew pot. I clicked that and I'm going to look at that later, Rhonda. Thank you very much. Wow, I have to look into this. Evidently I've missed something all my life. I mean, if I'd known Dudley Do Right was down there, I might have gone a lot sooner. Well, that's just last year, though. That's not that far back, Ron. That should be okay. Hey, come here. Come here. Why are you being so standoffish tonight? Come here. Come up here. Hang on, guys. All right. Tell everybody good night before we all go bye-bye. Tell Miss Carol you said hi. Tell hi. Tell Miss Carol say good night. I love how he locks in that stare and he's just refuses to look at the screen right now. If he wanted to be up here in my way, he'd be all. Since it's not his idea, he don't want nothing to do with it. Say hi. Hi, buddy. See that moving? Hop down. Hi, Theodore. Ian said, hi, Theodore. See, now you're out it. Now you're up here. See, because you're now, right? He's been a pretty good boy today, I'll have to admit. Haven't you? Yeah. Although I'm a little worried about his nose. I think his sister sliced part of his nose off, or at least put a slice in his nose. It's not plumb apart, but there's a flap in it. Raiders scored again. Tell Garrett that Raiders scored again. All right, guys, I'm going to cut it off. I'm hurting a little bit right now, and I'm going to go see my wife and see how she's doing, and actually might even get in bed early tonight. Who knows? Probably not, but maybe. Well, he's gone now. So thanks everybody for coming in. We talked about taxes and greed in that respect, and we'll talk about it some more in the future, I'm sure. But because I think there's a lot of ways greed manifests itself today, besides just money. I mean, time and effort, and just time we spend with each other, and how we spend that time. But anyway, good night, everybody. Thanks to everybody for traveling the next few days. Please be safe. Carol, I think you guys might be traveling. If you are, please be careful on the highways. And for those that are going to be home Saturday morning, I'll see you here then. And I think we might talk about hummingbirds a little bit Saturday morning. I'm not sure what else besides squirrels. I have a squirrel that's in trouble, Tina. I'll have to tell you all about that Saturday. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a great evening, Elena. Be safe out there in California, Michelle. Make Garrett pay attention to the road. Make sure he's watching. Thanks for coming in from Canada and all other points around the globe. Good night.